stop writing. I want to come back together and I want to talk about these two relationships. Okay, so we have two different soccer teams and the way that they're drinking Gatorade is different, right? Raise your hand and tell me something that's different about the way that they're drinking their Gatorade. Margaret?
Well, Shay's, like, how they drink theirs is proportional and Maddie's isn't.
Okay, so Margaret says that Shay's team is drinking at a proportional rate and Margaret's team is not. Raise your hand if you agree with that. Raise your hand high. Okay, so it looks like more than half of the class agrees with that. Raise your hand if you disagree with that. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that disagree with that. Guadalupe, why do you disagree with that?
Well, it starts at 60, so it doesn't start at the 0, and it has a white intercept.
Okay. Couple things that I want to say from that. So first of all, she said it starts at 60, it doesn't start at 0. What is she saying? What does she mean by that? Ethan?
It doesn't start at the origin.
It doesn't start at the origin. And what do we know about proportional relationships, Margaret?
That they have to start at the origin.
And they have to say
Have a constant unit rate.
have a constant unit rate, have a constant rate of change, right? So Margaret, is Shay's team, the way that they're drinking their Gatorade, is it proportional?
No. Or if they're still drinking it at like a constant unit rate.
But is it proportional?
No.
No, why not?
Because it starts at 60 and not the origin.
Starts at 60, not at the origin. Okay, so who can edit Margaret's sentence? Instead of saying that Shay's team is a proportional relationship, what could she say that would be true? It's not proportional. Everybody look at the graph. It's not proportional, but we can say that the relationship is what? Everybody should be looking at the graph. Raise your hand when you know. It's not proportional because it doesn't start at the origin, but the relationship is, Chloe?
Linear.
Linear. Raise your hand if you agree with that. Is Shay's graph linear? Okay, why is it linear? What makes that graph linear? What is it about the situation that makes that a linear relationship? Sarah?
There's a constant rate of change.
Yes. Constant rate of change. What is the constant rate of change, Rodrigo?
It goes down by 15.
Okay, so what number represents that constant rate of change? Jefferson? 15 represents the constant rate of change. What number represents that constant rate of change, Riley?
1/15.
115?
No, 1/15. 1 over 15.
1/15 represents how much it's changing by each
Or
hour.
negative. No, wait. Negative 15. Sorry.
Negative 15, is that the constant rate of change?
Yes.
Okay, and what do we call that in our equation or in our relationship? What is that number called, Evan?
Slope.
That's our slope. Okay, so we know our slope is
Negative 15.
negative 15. So everybody write that down. If you don't have that, you can just write it below Shay's graph. We know that the slope for Shay's graph is negative 15. Now I want to come back to something that Guadalupe said that's interesting. She said that she said it's not proportional because it has a y-intercept. Do proportional relationships have a y-intercept? Think about it and raise your hand when you have an answer. Do proportional relationships have a y-intercept? Do proportional relationships have a y-intercept? Alana, what do you think?
I think they do, but it's not like a greater number, it's 0, the y-intercept.
Okay, do we agree with that?
Yes.
Yes. So restate what she said. Ethan, what did she say?
Guadalupe said that it's not proportional because it has a y-intercept and it has a constant of proportionality, but it does have a y-intercept and it still has a constant of proportionality.
What did Alana say?
Oh, Alana said that it does have a
We were talking about proportional relationships, so neither of these are proportional. We've established
Yeah.
that. Guadalupe said if it has a y-intercept, it's not proportional. But I asked Alana if she thinks that's true. What did Alana say?
She said that that's not true because proportional relationships have a y-intercept. They're just 0.
Yeah, their y-intercept is 0, right? But having a y-intercept of 0 doesn't mean you don't have a y-intercept. You still have a starting point. Your starting point is just 0. So in real life, what's the starting point for Shay's amount of Gatorade for her team? 60. So their y-intercept is 60. So go ahead and write that below Shay's graph 2. We know that the slope is negative 15. We know that the y-intercept is what? 60. Can we write an equation to represent Shay's relationship? Can we write an equation with this information to represent Shay's relationship? Donovan?
It would be y equals negative 15x plus 60.
Okay, raise your hand if you agree with that. Y equals negative 15x plus 60. Raise your hand if you agree with that. Okay, we all agree with that. Tate, you don't agree with that? Okay, good. Yep, that's the equation. Let's talk a little bit about Maddie's team now. How is the relationship with Maddie's Gatorade different than the relationship with Jay's? Sarah?
It's not linear.
It's not linear. What makes it not linear? Audrey?
The unit rate, or there's no constant unit rate.
There's no constant unit rate. Why? Tell me real life, like this is happening so there's no constant unit rate. Chase?
There's a drop in the graph,
What do you mean by that?
like 2 hours into it, I guess the teammates got more thirsty, so then
So what happened then?
they drank more, so the ounces went down.
The ounces went down at what? The ounces were going down the whole time for Shay's team as well, right?
Yeah.
The ounces are going down the whole time, so it's not that it goes down that makes it not linear. Tate, what makes it not linear?
They like went down by different numbers.
Yes, they went down by different numbers, so what's changing there? The slope is changing. The rate of change is changing. It's now changing at a different rate. I like what Chase said. He said they got thirstier. He noticed that after the first hour, the teammates must have gotten thirstier, so they drank more. So the rate of changing Gatorade now is steeper. What does it mean when I have a steeper slope? What does it mean when I have a steeper slope? Margaret?
Like the unit rate is bigger, it's like changing at a faster.
Yes, it's changing at a faster rate. The steeper the slope is, the faster the change. Okay, now I want to talk about something that I noticed about all of your